The enigmatic Eugene McCarthy, 10 Scandalous and Shocking Facts. Eugene McCarthy, a poet-turned-politician, was one of the most controversial figures in American politics during the turbulent 1960s and 1970s. Known for his sharp wit, intellectual prowess, and fierce opposition to the Vietnam War, McCarthy carved out a unique space in U.S. political history. However, his life and career were filled with scandal, unexpected turns, and surprising moments. Here are 10 of the most scandalous and shocking facts about Eugene McCarthy. Fact number 1. A humble beginning, the making of a maverick. Eugene Joseph McCarthy was born on March 29, 1916, in the small farming community of Watkins, Minnesota. His father, Michael McCarthy, served as a postmaster and local merchant, while his mother, Anna McCarthy, née Brennan, was known for her devout Catholic faith and unwavering commitment to social justice, which she imparted to her children. Eugene was the fifth of 9 children and showed early signs of his intellectual prowess and deep introspection. He attended St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota, graduating in 1935 with a degree in English. His passion for literature and poetry grew during his time as a professor at the College of St. Thomas in St. Paul, where he taught from 1946 to 1949. McCarthy married Abigail Quigley in 1945, a partnership characterized by both intellectual synergy and marital strife. Known for her sharp wit and independence, Abigail was described by friends as Eugene's greatest critic and closest ally, a dual role that often placed tension on their relationship. Rumors of their separation began circulating in the late 1960s, reflecting the strain of McCarthy's political ambitions on his family life. Despite personal challenges, McCarthy's formative years laid the groundwork for his future as a political outsider with a fiercely independent spirit. Number 2. The Anti-Vietnam War Crusader, a thorn in LBJ's side. Eugene McCarthy's bid for the presidency in 1968 was a bold act of defiance against the Vietnam War and the sitting president, Lyndon B. Johnson. Announcing his candidacy on November 30, 1967, McCarthy argued that the Vietnam War was an unnecessary and unjust conflict that had caused incalculable harm to the United States' moral standing. This unexpected move shook the political establishment, turning him into the de facto leader of the anti-war movement. Robert F. Kennedy, who initially hesitated to challenge Johnson, was inspired by McCarthy's early success, particularly his strong showing in the New Hampshire primary. Kennedy announced his own candidacy in March 1968, creating a rivalry that was both cooperative and competitive. McCarthy's campaign, largely funded by contributions from college students and small donors, tapped into a growing disillusionment among younger Americans. Clean for Gene became the rallying cry, urging young supporters to adopt conventional appearances to appeal to mainstream voters. This strategy worked. In the New Hampshire primary, McCarthy captured an impressive 42% of the vote, shocking the political world and convincing Johnson that he could not win re-election. Johnson announced his decision not to seek re-election on March 31, 1968, acknowledging that McCarthy's candidacy had exposed deep divisions within the Democratic Party and American society. Number 3. McCarthy in the FBI, a relationship of mistrust. Eugene McCarthy's outspoken stance on civil liberties in opposition to the Vietnam War put him at odds with the FBI, led by J. Edgar Hoover. Documents released under the Freedom of Information Act revealed that McCarthy was subject to intense FBI surveillance throughout his political career. Hoover reportedly labeled him a dangerous radical, and the FBI maintained extensive files on his movements, contacts, and speeches. Some reports suggested that the FBI sought to undermine his 1968 campaign by leaking unfavorable information to the press, including alleged communist sympathies among his supporters. The release of these documents in the 1970s led McCarthy to publicly accuse the FBI of overreach and to question the role of government agencies in suppressing dissent. A democracy is not in need of a secret police, McCarthy declared in 1975, voicing his concern over the FBI's actions in fueling public debate over government surveillance. Number 4. The unexpected turn to humor, poetry and politics. McCarthy's love for poetry often intersected with his political career, lending an unexpected dimension to his public persona. He published several collections, including Other Things in the Aardvark, 1970, and The Limits of Power, America's Role in the World, 1967, which combined poetry with political critique. His poetic approach often baffled his peers, who viewed his quips as either charmingly erudite or frustratingly obtuse. He once remarked, "Being in politics is like being a football coach, you have to be smart enough to understand the game and dumb enough to think it's important." His use of humor and irony made him a unique figure in the political landscape, although some saw his poetic expressions as a lack of seriousness. McCarthy's literary pursuits reflected his intellectual depth, and his books enjoyed moderate success, appealing to readers who appreciated his unconventional style. Number 5. The Affair That Rocked Washington. Rumors of Eugene McCarthy's extramarital affairs began circulating in the late 1960s, adding to his complex and controversial public image. The most notable rumor involved an affair with Mary McGrory, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist for The Washington Post, who had covered McCarthy's anti-war campaign extensively. While neither McCarthy nor McGrory ever confirmed the relationship, whispers about their alleged liaison persisted in Washington circles. The scandal was particularly damaging given McCarthy's image as a principled politician. Nevertheless, he remained unapologetic about his personal life, stating in a 1971 interview, "I have no intention of living a life that is less than full." The alleged affair, whether real or rumor, fueled gossip and speculation, casting a shadow over his 1968 presidential campaign. Number 6. A presidential campaign on a shoestring budget. McCarthy's 1968 presidential campaign was marked by a refusal to accept large donations from corporations, wealthy donors, or political action committees. Instead, he relied on small contributions, grassroots support, and volunteers. His campaign raised approximately $3.5 million, a fraction of what his rivals had at their disposal. Robert Kennedy, entering the race later, would draw from a much broader donor base, making McCarthy's shoestring campaign look even more remarkable in comparison. McCarthy's approach was a double-edged sword. While it underscored his commitment to his principles, it also limited his reach and effectiveness. "I'd rather lose for the right reasons than win for the wrong ones," he famously said, capturing his reluctance to compromise his ideals for political gain. This frugal strategy, however, did not deter his supporters, who admired his integrity and unwavering commitment to reform. Number 7. The Academic Turn, a New Kind of Rebel. After his political career began to decline, McCarthy returned to academia, becoming a visiting professor at several prestigious universities, including Stanford University and the University of Maryland. His lectures, known for their eclectic mix of poetry readings, political discourse, and philosophical exploration, often left students and faculty alike both puzzled and captivated. "He was a man ahead of his time," remarked one former student, recalling McCarthy's discussions on government overreach and civil liberties long before they became mainstream concerns. His academic career, viewed by some as a retreat from public life, was instead an extension of his lifelong commitment to challenging the status quo. Number 8. The Controversial Endorsements, a Maverick's Final Act. McCarthy surprised both his supporters and detractors by endorsing Ronald Reagan in the 1980 presidential election. Despite their ideological differences, McCarthy found common ground with Reagan on the issue of limiting government power, a stance he had consistently championed. His decision to endorse Reagan drew harsh criticism from many of his former allies, who saw it as a betrayal of his liberal base. McCarthy defended his choice, stating, "I endorse people, not parties." This move highlighted his maverick spirit, willing to cross party lines to support individuals who shared his views on specific issues. Number 9. The Final Campaign, a Last Hurrah. At the age of 76, McCarthy made a final bid for the presidency in 1992 as an independent candidate. His campaign, more of a symbolic gesture than a serious attempt to win, aimed to draw attention to what he saw as the two-party system's failure to address key issues like campaign finance reform, civil liberties, and foreign policy. Despite the campaign's limited impact, garnering less than 1% of the popular vote, it reaffirmed McCarthy's status as a political iconoclast, refusing to fade quietly into retirement. "I run not to win, but to offer a choice," McCarthy declared, underscoring his commitment to democratic principles. Number 10. A Bittersweet Legacy, the poet-politician. Eugene McCarthy passed away on December 10, 2005, at the age of 89, leaving behind a complicated legacy. Despite his many achievements, he never held the presidency he sought so fervently. McCarthy's career was a blend of success, scandal, and controversy, reflecting the turbulent times in which he lived. His intellectualism, poetic inclinations, and fierce independence made him a unique figure in American politics. He once famously said, "I have nothing to fear from the truth," a statement that could well serve as his epitaph.